Hey everyone, you're watching We Had That, and today I'm going to talk about the 1984 Wave 3 Masters of the Universe Fisto action figure from Mattel. By the time the third wave of Masters of the Universe figures came out in 1984, the line had a proven track record with amazing sales, so Mattel seemed willing to spend a little bit more money making figures that required unique sculpts and new action features beyond just the spring in the waist that allowed figures to punch. For example, Mechanek's neck extended when you twisted his waist. You could fill Cobra Khan's torso with water, and he could spray a mist when you pressed down on his head. And Clawful had a giant spring action claw instead of a right hand. It was in this wave that Fisto arrived with a spring action right arm that could punch down. The same gimmick was used for the figure Jitsu, and both were given special hands to highlight the feature. Probably because they each had a special hand in the same action feature, I always thought that Jitsu was supposed to be Fisto's nemesis, but their appearances in the comic books and cartoon don't really play that up. According to Fisto's package, he's a heroic hand-to-hand fighter. The artwork at the top of the back of the package shows Fisto battling Skeletor and says, "Fisto smashes evil with his giant knuckles." The back of his package also offers the instructions that you can twist his fist to make his hand turn and that he can throw hooks, uppercuts, and straight punches. When it comes to Fisto's appearances in the various media in the 1980s, he wasn't really in a lot of either the mini-comics or the cartoon, but several of his appearances gave him prominent roles. I believe Fisto appeared in 7 issues of the mini-comics that were included along with each figure. His first appearance was in Masks of Power, which even features him on the cover. Not only is he on the cover, but he seems to be just as important of a character in this issue as He-Man, and the issue is filled with awesome images of Fisto punching, which really shows off his featured gimmick. With this issue being both his first appearance and a great representation of the character, I would have thought that it would have been packaged with the Fisto figure. However, although the figures were occasionally packaged with this mini-comic, the one I see most often packaged with Fisto is by far more often his second appearance, The Clash of Arms. In fairness, the Clash of Arms mini-comic features Fisto even more than He-Man. He-Man isn't even on the cover. It really is a Fisto story. It also sets up his frequent connection with the horse Stridor. The basic idea is that the bad guys kidnap Fisto so that they can fight him in an arena for Skeletor's pleasure. He has a good fight with Clawful just before eventually beating him by shoving a broken club into Clawful's claw, basically rendering him useless. His fight with Jitsu is surprisingly short, with Fisto taking out Jitsu much faster than Clawful. This was surprising to me since I considered the two relatively equally matched action figures. Whiplash, on the other hand, seemed to get Fisto in a tight spot relatively quickly. Fisto has fought the other two guys at this point and is probably tired, but it's at this point that He-Man comes to the rescue. It surprises me to see He-Man using a laser pistol. I don't know why, it's not like he's Batman. Anyway, this leads to the most famous panel in any Masters of the Universe comic featuring Fisto, which most people have only seen with the text changed. Here it is with the original text so that you can see it for yourself. In Skeletor's Dragon, Fisto does use his fist at a fair in a test of strength game and is seen beating all but He-Man. Also, he does appear a fair amount in this issue, but for the most part he's just another character taking up space. In Hordak, the Ruthless Leader's Revenge, Fisto appears in 2 panels, but again, it really could have been anyone. In fact, both panels are group shots, and in both cases, it wouldn't have made much of a difference if Fisto had just been left out completely. In Mantenna and the Menace of the Evil Horde, Fisto isn't in the issue much at all. I believe only 3 panels. But he does punch Grizzlor twice, which in my mind is enough to justify including a character famous for punching. In The Treachery of Modulok, Fisto is part of a group in a single panel, and that's it for this issue. The last appearance of Fisto is in the mini-comic Leech, the Master of Power Suction Unleashed. Although more than the previous 3 issues, Fisto isn't in this issue much, and it really could just as easily have been Man-at-Arms or Tila or whoever. Fisto doesn't use his fist. The art in this issue is strange, to say the least, and in the last panel to feature Fisto, He-Man says, "And destruction is its own reward." Really, He-Man? In today's story, we learned that you don't need a reason to destroy things. Destruction is its own reward. And speaking of the cartoon, Fisto appears in only 4 regular episodes of the Masters of the Universe cartoon. He first appears in the episode Fisto's Forest. As the name suggests, Fisto is the main character in this episode. A beast attacks a young boy, but fortunately Fisto is there to slam his fist into the ground, knocking over a tree onto the beast. The boy had hurt his foot, so Fisto carries him to safety and bandages up his foot. Then he tells the boy of his origin. Apparently, Fisto was working for Skeletor and acting like a real bully. He-Man and his friends show up to fix things, and of course, show Fisto that being a bad guy isn't cool, so he changes his ways and becomes a good guy. In The Rarest Gift of All, Fisto punches a rock and says, "I haven't seen Orko all day." That's it. In To Save Skeletor, Fisto can be seen at the beginning of the episode drinking with Man-at-Arms at one of King Randor's parties. A few minutes later, Fisto is one of the heroes that accompanies He-Man to Snake Mountain after Whiplash tells them that the bad guys are in trouble because Skeletor summoned a monster that he can't control. Fisto uses his giant fist to break Trapjaw out of a crystal prison. When the heroes and the bad guys work together to defeat the monster, Fisto is part of the team. Fisto uses his fist again to knock down a support beam, flooding the cave they're in with water. He is also part of the team that distracts the monster while the sorceress tries to send it back to its own world, and can be seen at the end of the episode when He-Man tells the others how he tricked Skeletor, who had tried to double-cross him. Lastly, Fisto is the one who explains the moral of the story at the end of the episode. Fisto's final role in the main Masters of the Universe cartoon is in the episode The Games. The episode begins when Fisto's visiting the palace as a spaceship shows up with aliens visiting Eternia to understand the difference between good and evil. So they've developed a game, and they want the most powerful representative of good and the most powerful representative of evil to compete. Because Prince Adam hasn't changed into He-Man, Fisto is chosen to represent the side of good, supporting the idea that he's one of He-Man's most powerful allies. After going through Skeletor's Evil Geyser, which makes anyone 10 times more evil, Spikor is selected for the side of evil. The contestants are given instructions and the game begins. The problem is that while the side of good is bound by the rules, the side of evil is allowed to cheat. Although He-Man is not allowed to help Fisto, he is allowed to take his place. Once He-Man takes Fisto's place, he catches up with Spikor quickly. Of course, in the end, Spikor loses to He-Man. Fisto did make a couple of quick background appearances in the holiday special, first talking to Snout Spout in the background, and later talking to Mossman. Fisto also had a commercial, but rather than give him a face-off against Jitsu, his opponent once again in the commercial is Clawful. Fisto also appeared in a few of the Golden books. In Secret of the Dragon's Egg, Fisto shows up at the palace, riding Stridor, by the way, carrying a locked treasure chest containing the location of the last dragon egg. Since he doesn't have a key for the box, Fisto uses his fist to smash the box in order to see the contents. The heroes go on a quest for the egg and are, of course, racing against Skeletor and his henchmen to find the egg first. Fisto is present a good bit in the first half of the book and even fights Beastman, then pretty much disappears until the last page where he shows up again. Fisto appears on the cover of The Magic Mirror. The book starts out with the good guys fighting the bad guys, and Fisto is there right from the beginning fighting Whiplash. Fisto defeats the bad guys as the heroes notice Skeletor flying overhead and into the side of the mountain where a wizard guards magic mirrors. Outside, He-Man wonders what Skeletor is up to and says they must get Fisto to join them against Skeletor. They regroup with Fisto and together climb up the side of the mountain, a climb which takes a fair percentage of the book. When they reach the top, Fisto buries Skeletor in a pile of rock, and the Mirror Wizard tells the gang that actually Skeletor has disguised himself as one of them. He-Man instantly knew it was Fisto, largely because Fisto's giant fist had been on the wrong arm, so He-Man started smashing mirrors to reverse the spell. Fisto appears again on the cover of Demons of the Deep. Teela is captured by a giant crab while she and Prince Adam are fishing. He turns into He-Man and calls on Fisto and Ram-Man to help him find her. The three take a raft into the Harmony Sea when they are attacked by a sea monster. Fisto mounts the sea monster and rips its head off, only to discover that it's actually a mechanical creature. But after making his discovery, a bunch of the creatures surface for a massive fight, which they don't show in the book. Suddenly, all of the creatures have been defeated, and the trio plunges into the water to see where they came from. They find Skeletor and his minions, and Fisto punches Jitsu in the face. Teela takes advantage of Skeletor's distraction and controls his mechanical monsters, programming them to attack Skeletor. Skeletor then magically transports himself and his henchmen away, and our protagonists go home. Although most of the more famous characters from Masters of the Universe had arguably already arrived with the first two waves, it really feels like Mattel pushed the Fisto character pretty hard. He may not have been in all that many mini-comics, and he certainly wasn't in a lot of episodes of the Filmation cartoon, though Mattel didn't really seem to have complete control in that department. But I just feel like Fisto was taken more seriously, and a real attempt was made to put him somewhat in He-Man's main circle of friends. What did you think of the vintage Masters of the Universe Fisto figure back in the 80s? Did you have him as a kid? Was he a favorite of yours, or did he spend most of his time beating his fist against the walls of your toy box? Tell me in the comments below. Also, please give this video a like, share it on social media, and if you enjoy my content, please subscribe to my channel and hit that notifications bell so you'll be notified when I post new videos. And one last thing, if you collect toys, you should know about ToyLanta, one of the biggest toy shows in the southeastern United States, held annually just north of Atlanta, Georgia. Visit ToyLanta.com for more information. As always, thanks for watching.